Daily activities at home. What are some of the daily activities that you do at home? I wake up at 7 am every morning. I press the snooze button 5 times every morning before I turn off the alarm and get up. I have a cup of coffee and make breakfast. I usually read the newspaper while I have breakfast. My children like to have a shower after they have breakfast, but I like to have a shower before I get dressed. My wife brushes her long hair, and I have short hair, so I comb my hair. How do you do your hair in the morning? It is important to brush your teeth, and some women like to put makeup on. After I have finished work, I go home to cook dinner. In my house, I usually make dinner. The family eat dinner together at 7:30. After dinner, I make sure that my children do their homework, and then I chill out on the sofa and watch television. On television, I usually watch the news. My wife usually comes to tell me to take the rubbish out or wash the dishes. Our children feed the dog and the cat before they go to bed, and I tell them to go to the bathroom too. If I am sick, I have to take my medication. But then get into my pajamas and set the alarm so I wake up in the morning. The last things I do is lock the door, turn off the lights, and go to bed. It doesn't take me long to fall asleep. Daily activities at work. What are some daily activities that you do at work? I go to work at 8:45 am every morning. I usually drive to work. I always check my emails when I get to work. But I don't always reply to them immediately. I take a taxi or a train if I have a lunch meeting. I never take the bus because it is too slow. When I am at my desk, I usually work on the computer, even during morning tea. At 1 most days I have lunch. At 3 we have afternoon tea, and that is when we usually talk and eat cake. When you are in the office, you probably have a lot of papers. It is important for you to file your papers, and so that you can find them again, you need to organize your files. When I work, I have to make telephone calls. If an important issue happens, I ask my secretary to organize a meeting. Once a month, I report to my boss. But maybe you have to report to your boss more often. I usually write a document that my boss can read. Other daily activities. What are some other daily activities that you do? I exercise at least 3 times a week. I usually go to the gym before work, but sometimes I go after work. I meditate every morning so that I feel less stressed during the day. Weekly activities. What are some weekly activities that you do? I go grocery shopping once a week at the local supermarket. My family does the housework together every Saturday morning. I usually do the washing on Sunday morning, and when the machine is finished, I hang the clothes out to dry. On Sunday morning, we go to church, and if there is lots of noise coming from next door, sometimes we fight with the neighbor. Saturday night, my parents stay at home and I go out with friends. Even my friends that live at home call their parents each week. Every evening, I water the garden. I usually pay someone to wash the car, but my partner says I should do it. So sometimes I argue with my partner about that. If we are angry at the neighbor, we seek vengeance by annoying his dogs. I work in an important office, so I have to shine my shoes each day. Sometimes we hire a movie because we don't like to illegally download music and films. I make sure that I synchronize my iPod so I always have new music on it. To get our shopping, we go to the mall in the car. Last week I forgot to recharge my travel card, and I had to argue with a bus driver. I couldn't call the office because I forgot to recharge my cell phone. Overview. In this conversation between parent and child, the child is on a constant rant about not eating healthy food and wants to munch some pizzas and burgers, as every mom does. In this conversation too, the mom is disallowing her child to eat junk food and wants the child to eat home-cooked food. Conversation between parent and child about dinner. Son, Mom, what's for dinner today? Mom, I've cooked from French beans with gravy and you can eat that with rice. Son, that's all. Mom, well, nothing else was in the fridge to cook, so there was no other choice. Son, are you serious? There is nothing else to eat. Mom, nope. Son, we could have ordered some pizza and a burger. Mom, and who will eat this? Son, we could have cooked it some other day. Mom, cooked it some other day. Would you eat rotten food? Son, obviously not. Mom, exactly. Now come to the table and have your dinner. Son, but Mom, it is Sunday today and Sunday calls for some delicious food. Mom, at least taste some beans. Son, Mom, beans are going to stay beans. Mom, and you are also going to stay the same. So shall I change you too? Son, no. I'll have beans and rice. I won't complain a bit. Mom, that's like my son. I want you finish everything that is served on your plate. No complaints. Son, yes, Mom. What does a typical conversation between two friends sound like in English? This may not be something you've covered in your English textbook or classes, but after all, it's what every English learner aims to do, have a casual conversation in English. In this post, you'll see and hear 6 examples of a typical conversation between friends. By exposing yourself to these examples, you'll feel more confident in your ability to engage in small talk, make plans, and have personal conversations. Some people think of small talk, unimportant, expected conversation, as being shallow, not honest or real, but it's something that we do to make each other comfortable. For example, asking about someone's job or how they're doing is a way of showing that you care. And these questions can lead to more personal and interesting conversation. It's true that close friends may not use small talk as much as people who don't know each other well. But there are still times when using small talk with friends makes sense. For example, if you meet an old friend who you haven't seen in a long time, or if you're meeting with a friend who you just don't see every day. Let's look at a couple of conversations below to see what those situations might sound like. Here, we're actually going to look at a video clip that contains 2 conversations. This clip can also be found on Fluento with interactive subtitles and a transcript with playable audio. With the Fluento language program, you can watch over 1,000 authentic videos like this one with personalized learning tools to improve your English in a fun and engaging way. You'll find plenty of casual conversations to add to these 6 examples and get more familiar with what they sound like. This is a common greeting in English, like "How are you?" Don't be surprised if you say this to someone and they don't respond, or say "How's it going?" Bob replies to this question with "Good." This might seem a little weird because Sim didn't ask a yes or no question. But in this case, doesn't have any special meaning. It's just a way to acknowledge Sam's question and move on. Small talk can happen with close friends who you see regularly and with friends you don't see as often. Here's an example of a conversation that could happen between 2 friends who know each other pretty well. If you're meeting a friend you don't see every day, this is a nice way of saying that you appreciate them making an effort to see you. Other ways of saying this could be, "Thanks for making time to see me," or "We should do this more often." Like with "How's it going?" The other person might not always reply to this question. If they do, they'll probably either actually tell you what's going on, or just say, "Not much." In the conversation above, Nathan and Alicia both say not much is going on with them. But then they end up talking about Alicia's interview. This is pretty common. A person might sometimes even reply "not much," and then immediately start talking about all the things that actually are going on. To see your friends in the first place, you have to make plans with them. Here are a couple of conversations that show how that could go. This is a common greeting in English, like "How are you?" Don't be surprised if you say this to someone and they don't respond, or say "How's it going?" In the conversation above, Bob and John decide to see a movie together. But they don't decide on what to see, or an exact time. Hopefully, they'll talk about this later, otherwise, they won't know what they're doing. 3D, let's see. I think it's going to be Jerome, Talia, Anna, Juan, Celeste, Michelle, and possibly Jamie. It's not really going to be a party, more like a small get-together. I'm cooking dinner, and we can just hang out. If someone invites you to an event, or just invites you to do something with them, this is a nice way to say yes. In the U and some other English-speaking areas, this is a polite question to ask if someone invites you to a dinner, party or holiday event where there is going to be food. It's usually appropriate and sometimes even expected. Do you ask this question even if the person who invited you is a close friend or family member? Once you've made plans and greeted your friends, all that's left to do is just, well, be a friend. Friends go to each other for help, for advice, and when they want to share their opinions and experiences. Conversations that are more personal are usually less structured and follow fewer rules. But there are still phrases that English speakers tend to use a lot in personal conversations, and there are still certain speech patterns we follow to show support for our friends. Let's look at some examples. It isn't always obvious when you're looking for advice in any language. If you want to know what a friend thinks you should do in a situation, just ask like this. This is a good general phrase for showing sympathy, and it might not always be used literally. For example, we have no idea if Michaela really does know how Gemma feels. But what Michaela seems to be saying is that Gemma's feelings still matter, even if the situation itself isn't that bad. However, you may want to be careful of using this phrase if someone is telling you about a situation that you obviously can't understand personally. In a case like that, it could seem rude and self-centered. Instead, you can say, "That sounds terrible." Friends can help you when you're having problems. They're also there to listen when you just want to talk about your feelings and opinions. This is a common way that people end sentences when giving their opinions or explaining something. Often, this is the meaning of "Does that make sense?" or "Do you understand what I mean?" Good friendships are rewarding and worthwhile, no matter what language you speak. Hopefully, the above conversations between two friends have given you a better idea of how to communicate and connect with your English-speaking friends. While many videos come with subtitles, there was never an easy way to look up vocabulary words, or pause the video and make sure you really understood what was being said. That is until now. Flinto understands our pain and picks up the pieces where all those other sites fall short. I've been studying French for many years and I have been starting to study Spanish in the last year. Since I started using Flinto, my language comprehension is developing so quickly that I finally continue reading. I'm loving Flinto. At first I was a little hesitant about the price, though I understood why the price was higher. Since this was all done by a person, I figured I would try the free trial. After continue reading in only 4 months, I've gotten to a comfortable at-all level in German thanks in large part to my practice on Flinto. I'm actually entertained by studying when I use it. It doesn't feel like work. I really like learning with the videos. I have studied using other methods and it was very hard to put what you were learning into context. With the videos, not only are you learning new vocabulary, continue reading. I love the videos that allow us to use our listening skills. The real-life conversations force us to listen and try to understand the language coming at us. So very different from knowing what to continue reading. The great thing about The House on Mango Street is that it's an interesting read. It's written from the point of view of the writer. You can really feel what the protagonist, the main character, feels. The sentences are really short, so it's also easy to understand. There are a few challenging words and a little bit of descriptive language, but you can usually understand them with the context. This book also has some difficult topics, such as sexual assault, so make sure you're up for that. This book follows the life of Esperanza, a Mexican girl. The novel takes place over the period of 1 year. Esperanza moves into a new home on Mango Street. The house is much better than her old one. It is the first house her parents have ever owned. All their other houses have been rented.
Esperanza is not very happy because she had been dreaming of a different home, a bigger one. Their new house is old and small. The house is located in a busy Latino area of Chicago. In the new home, Esperanza feels like she has no time to be alone. She promises herself that one day,